Beautiful vocal virtuosos. Welcome to Worthy Wednesdays at Voice Launch Masterclass with your host, Irma Joyner. How are you all today? I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday. This week is spring break, so I ended up starting a little later today than anticipated. Why? Because I am a mama. And so sometimes that requires for us to make some adjustments, and that's fine. So today, I wanted to talk about something really unique. I feel like sometimes this topic gets brushed under the rug a little bit because, a lot of people, they don't really know how to, I guess, speak on it, or they don't really know what to tell people. And I kind of feel like there's really necessarily no right. There's not like a right way to just say it to everyone, like a one size fits all kind of thing. Um, However, I do feel like it needs to be addressed. And when it's addressed, excuse me, I need to make some adjustments here. When it is addressed, it definitely does need to be said in such a way that it is communicated easily for the listener. So let's talk about it. Excuse me one second. So I wanted to make sure I have my notes here. So, too big to be a soprano. Okay. And it's too big to be a soprano. And I'm going to be talking to you about the truth behind powerful voices and, people's perception on how to utilize them. So there has been like this thing where, people assume that because their voice is too big, or others will assume that because their voice is too big, they cannot sing high notes. And it's not even really the whole thing. That's not true. If you have a big voice, you can sing high notes. I'm one of those that can do that, right? And over time, I've learned a lot about how those perceptions can really negatively impact singers. If they are told that they have a really big voice or their voice is heavy, they can't sing high notes, and that's just not true. I found from experience that when I've been told that by teachers. I remember I was told that when I was in high school, that I had to either sing second soprano or I had to sing alto because my voice was just too big. And I'm like, my voice is big because there's a lot that you could do with it. And even at that age, I knew that there was something up with that, because it was really weird how it was the sopranos were the singers who had like the really light voices, and they could sing, but there was no vibrato, or there was little to no vibrato, right? And it was really, really crazy because a lot of the singers like myself who were placed in second soprano or alto, it was like we knew we could sing. We had that confidence, we had the vibrato, we just didn't have the right training. We didn't have the right knowledge available at that time for us to get what we needed. So, I've even had some students who currently are in art schools right now. Like, they study voice and they currently attend an art school. And, depending on their voice, the type of voice that they may have a heavy voice, a big voice, but they've been forced to sing second soprano or alto. And they're like, Miss Irma, I know I can sing first soprano. And I'm like, I know you can too. But, unfortunately, in certain arenas, there is this thing where they only want certain voices to be set in certain ranges. And I honestly believe it's one of a couple of things. It's either because the director themselves does not really understand how to, or doesn't have the time. Hey there. Is that Rashak, nice to meet you. Please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, but thank you so much and welcome into Voice Launch Masterclass. Um, so what it is that they either may not really fully have, the training in order to, really work with that type of singer's voice. Maybe they don't know, how to get their voice to approach those higher notes without going flat. And so, because of the time constraint within a school year, they have to get the voices that they know that they can easily get to sing those notes in those spots. And so that's kind of the challenge for a lot of younger singers, especially in certain community choirs. Those directors are really trying to go straight for whatever they can find to bring about the outcome the quickest and the most efficient. And it's kind of messed up. I'm not gonna lie, because it's just like, well, darn, you have a lot of students there who actually can sing those high notes and give you a lot, but because they don't have the skills at that time, they're not told that, and so they just assume, oh, well, I just suck at singing. There's no way, I can sing soprano. That's not true. Even in certain college environments, this happens. It's not just high school. It's not just elementary, middle school. This happens in a lot of different places. So this is why it's so important that you get vocal training, because you don't know what your voice is even fully capable of, because no one is telling you this. So funny thing for me, I ended up singing all three parts while I was in high school. I ended up singing, I started out as second soprano, then I sung alto. I went to first soprano again, and then fourth year, I ended up singing alto because they needed a section leader who could sight read music. And by that time, I had already established the ability to sight read music. So, but at the same time, I was also singing first soprano in other city choirs, which was fine for me. It helped me to grow my voice, right? And that's another thing. Strengthen your voice. Don't ever shy away from that. Take the liberty to grow and have experience with singing in other voice parts, because it can strengthen your voice to be able to do that. So, I would recommend breaking free from limiting yourself, to what you already know or don't know, and fully immerse yourself in your voice. Find that freedom. That's the only way you're going to find freedom with your voice, is by working on it. You can never assume that something that stays the same is just going to get better, because that's just crazy. That's ludicrous. You're literally being delirious at that point, that you'd assume that, oh, well, I'm a soprano, but if I don't work on my voice, I'm going to sound like one anyways. No, that's not true. Work on your voice. Eliminate any limitations or blockers that could be preventing you from doing so. So yes, a big voice can sing high notes. As a matter of fact, let's talk about why the big voice can. So the thing that people don't know is it's all about the space. Of course, you need to understand vocal, of course you need to understand how to control the diaphragm. That's a given to those of us who've been singing for a while, right? Yes. However, there are also those of us who know this, but they don't understand that we need to understand how to manipulate the space inside of our mouths. Like, we literally have a lot back there to use, but we're not using it. And so we close and tighten our throat to push the sound through. That's not how you get that high sound. And so it's basically knowing how the anatomy works. So in this case, I'll explain how you have your larynx down here, the beautiful system that sits down here, right? But when your vocal folds are vibrating and your air is being sent up through the trachea and up and out through the mouth, you have to keep in mind the space that is going on back here in the pharynx, in the throat. That soft tissue, you have a soft palate in the back that stretches. And you also have your uvula, where if you look in the mirror right now and you happen to open your mouth, you'll see the little dingly thing hanging right there. That's your uvula, right? Have you ever noticed when you yawn, it goes up? It doesn't stay there. My vocal coach taught me that. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I didn't even think about how the fact that my uvula lifts when I make that yawn. You know, when you yawn, like, oh, right? Yeah. And then you also, when you raise your voice, when you sing high, it lifts, right? Right? When you're making sounds like that, your soft palate is going to raise, it's going to lift. And your body is smart enough to know, hey, I need to make space in order to sing those high notes. There's no way you're going to sing it down here. So yes, singing is also, by the way, mental. You really need to be thinking about what you're going to do before you do it. You don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to sing this high note without preparation. Why? Because if your soft palate is lowered and you do that, you're not going to hit the note. So those of us who have those big voices, especially, this is something that we have to take note on, is when we prepare to sing a high note, we need to make sure that our soft tissue back there is open, that we have the space, so that then if we wanted to go from like a middle C, start here, oh, then you can do it. Somewhere over the rainbow. We can do that, right? Or, ah, ah, yeah. So we need to make sure we have that space in order for that to happen. If there's no space, it's not going to come out. So what I find most singers are doing is and I'm going to attempt to do it the wrong way, so you'll see what I'm talking about. So if I have a singer that comes to me and they're like, hey, Irma, I'm having a hard time hitting a high note and I just feel like my voice is just too heavy. That is usually the case. Is they will come to me and they think that their voice is too heavy. It's not too heavy. It's about knowing where the space is and how to use it and where to send the sound. So then they'll say, oh, oh, it'll be stuck here. And notice how I'm tight when I do that, right? I'm not allowing the tongue to move out of the way. I'm not allowing the air to flow. I'm blocking my own air inadvertently. So instead of doing that, I move the tongue out of the way. And because I'm singing an ah vowel, I'm going to move my tongue. I'm going to curl my tongue or move it down lower below my bottom teeth. Ah, like that. Ah, right? And then I'm going to think back. Ah, ah, see how that works? So don't let anyone say just because you have a big voice that you cannot sing high notes. Yes, you can. It's all about just understanding your own personal anatomy of your voice. And this is something that I work on inside of my course. I'll make sure I put that description, I'll make sure I put that in the description down below. I have a description down there. I think I may have already put a link in there. Check in there now. Where you can find my course. I'm doing a 4-day workshop. A 4-week workshop with everybody who wants to join this course. Because I want to make sure, of course, that I touch more people, and to help them understand how to use their voice and not feel trapped. One of the biggest challenges for singers is kind of getting out of their head because of beliefs that they've been taught or they have come up with based on the knowledge that they only have at that time. And if it weren't for the amazing instructors that I've had, I would not be able to even share this information to help you. So, I would say if singing is so important to you and it's something that you really love and you really want to develop, join this 4-week course. And I'm going to be working with you one-on-one throughout the week to help you work on your breath and improving your ability to sing higher pitches. Because I mean, there are so many more sopranos out there than you know. Like there are some people who think they're not a soprano, and they actually really are. I discovered sopranos all the time. I literally discover sopranos all the time. I'll have someone say I'm an alto, and I'm listening to them talking. I'm like, no, you're not, sweetie, but we'll work on it. Like we'll work on improving your voice and your skills. So it's really about the mindset and the skill set to really help. And so let's do this here. So I really would like, so the exercise, well, the example that I just gave you a second ago was really an exercise. It's one of the exercises that I have in mind today to share with you to really help open up that space to give you more sound and higher pitch, right? So there's this thing where people have a disconnect in their voice, and it can happen in any spot. It's not necessarily a particular spot. You'll hear some people say, well, my notes are breaking or my pitches are breaking, your voice is not broken, so that's not really happening. Okay. Your voice is not broken, so it's impossible for your notes to be broken. Okay. So keep that in mind. But what is happening is there's literally a disconnect between where your air is and where your pitches are with your vibration, your vibrato, well, not vibrato, excuse me, where your vibrating vocal cords, where they're vibrating and your air coming out. There could be a disconnect there with the airflow consistently. And or you could also have some moments where you're tense, and then in this area in your neck, you could be straining, trying to force the pitch, which is something I often see where singers will literally be like, "Ugh," like they're trying to force the sound out of their body. And I'm like, that's not how that works. We got to relax the body. I'm big on yoga. Just because of that alone, I want my body to be relaxed, especially when I'm singing. And the mind needs to be relaxed, the other part is the anatomy of the body, like I was speaking on earlier, understanding the space inside the back of the throat. If that area is free and there's no tension and you can manipulate it and create space, pretend you have an egg in your mouth. Do that as an exercise. Pretending you have an egg in your mouth, right? Obviously, when you put an egg back there, you know there's going to be space. There's going to be a little space back there, right? Kind of giving that Mrs. Doubtfire feel, right? And I don't know if any of you who are watching my video right now or are in my live, if you're old enough to know Mrs. Doubtfire from back in the day, it was one of the best, funniest movies that ever hit TV back in the 1990s, okay? If you haven't ever seen it, go watch it, okay? They had one of the biggest, what do you call it, actors in the world on there. I love him so much. He was so amazing, so funny. He can imitate any and everything. But go check it out. But anywho, it just brought me back to that movie. But you want to think about having that space when you are singing. Okay, so what I like to do is first I'll usually start in my chest voice. You don't have to. You can start anywhere. But in the beginning, I typically do start in the chest voice for students because maybe they haven't reached up here. Maybe you could be also one of those singers like myself who had a strong head voice, those high notes, right? But then when you get into the chest voice, your voice is there, but it's just not strong. But now mine is, I have it, right? It's there now. So, but it can be weak for some people. And then you can hit the lower notes, without any problem. But what that really means is that you basically just need to keep working on those pitches, going through scales. I'm sure you've heard of people saying that they sing or play scales. Well, just like a pianist would need to get on the piano and strengthen their fingering as they're going up and down the scales, is the same as for a singer. We need to do the same for our voice. We need to go up and down the scales to ensure that we are in tune throughout the entire scale. So what we have is, if I'll say, ah, ee, ah, right? But we want it more legato. Ah, ee, ah, ah, ee, ah, right? A lot of singers at the beginning, they will step it. That's kind of a common thing that you'll find because they're trying to make sure that it's, they're going to every single note. But what you want to do is get to the point where you're just floating over those and keeping it up there. Ah, ee, ah, right? And then you'll just go up. If anybody is, I don't know if you're currently, anybody taking piano before. If you have taken piano or you are taking piano, let me know. Give me a comment and let me know if you've taken piano before. But if not, I mean, you really don't need to be fully skilled in piano in order to do this. But it's nice to know how to go up to a piano and just press one note to the next to stay in key. And so, like, I started us off on C. I would then go up to C sharp. That's the next half step. So I go up in half steps during my warm-ups. So where we started there, ah, ah, instead of ah, we go up, ah, oops, ah, those are work. That's an exercise that you can do to teach yourself how to glide and over those notes and connect notes together. This makes it easier for you to approach higher notes. When you are able to do that, you can sing higher notes with ease, with barely any problems. I feel like a lot of the time, when we sing those high notes, because like I have a song right now that I'm working on, where the song looks simple, but it's Debussy. And if you know Debussy, you know the additional mood changes that can occur in the song or any of his songs. And in one of those, there's a part where, I'm doing a jump with my voice. It's not a huge jump. For some people it might be, but for me, it's not a huge jump. But it's significant enough for me to pay attention to a lot of different things, such as the mood that I am in, the dynamics in the song. The dynamics have to do with like how loud or soft, that part of the song is. There's more to it than just that. That's one of the dynamics. And in this case, when I get to that beat, where that note is higher, it's really like that. It's that one part where, like, if you're not paying attention to the song, you might blow out the candle too quick, if you get what I'm saying. So you lose the audience, right? Or you lose the message in the song that's supposed to be understood in the moment. And so expressively as an artist, it's important that we understand these aspects about the music and how to control our voice, because if not, you can overkill the song and then the song just sucks inadvertently. And it's not the song that sucks technically, but it would be the performer. So, and sorry to say it sucks, but it's just like, you got to give more into it in order for it to really give what you want, right? What was intended to be given, really. All right. So, let's look at two. Hold on one second. I had something else I wanted to share with you. Oh, yeah. So another one would be, you know, lip trills. I love lip trills. Lip trills are one of my favorite. Has anybody on here ever done a lip trill before? Let me know in the comments below if you've ever done a lip trill. So lip trills are like this. Okay? Just when your lips vibrate and the air is coming out, right? And one of the things that I really love about lip trills is that it teaches you how to balance your air control. Because you're having to consistently make sure that you have the right amount of air, not filled to capacity, but just enough air to get through the phrase. And then as the air is coming out, it cannot go too fast and it cannot go too slow. Because if the air is coming out too slow, the vibration will not happen. And if it comes out too fast, something's going to happen, but you're not going to get a consistent flow of air, right? It's like blowing out a tire because you put too much air in it kind of thing, right? Similarly. And so what you're going to end up doing is mastering control over your breath. And I feel like this was one of the best things that I learned early on as a singer is to do lip trills. Right? And you can do them in any kind of pattern. You can go. You can do them however. I even like to sing, like my songs that I'll work on. I like to lip trill to them. And what that does for moi is that makes it so that it's easier for me to approach the song. It makes it so much easier for me to sing the song. It just sets it, right? Just sets it so that as I'm singing, I have the control that I need, and I am less likely to crack my voice when I do lip trills. So much more less likely. Matter of fact, I don't remember the last time my voice has cracked. So I highly recommend vocal trills. Like do them, do the vocal trills, because I'm telling you, like, they really are a great staple. And I remember learning about that when I was in school, and I would learn, hey, you know, do the lip trills on your song after you've got down you've mastered your rhythm pretty well, and you know your notes pretty well. You're at that point where you're still learning your notes. Start doing the trills with your song. If you do that, you'll be less likely to crack your voice. Why? Because your voice, your breath is going to be stable. Your breath control is going to be stable at that point, because it's literally a game that you're literally playing with yourself, and you can't cheat. Because if you lose control over your breath, over your diaphragm, the lip trill won't even happen. So I do have a course, by the way. It's called Diaphragm Detective, and I actually teach you how to do that. I'll make sure that I put a link to that in the description. But if you want to join my 4-week training that I have coming up, press the link down below and go ahead and get registered. I have a sale on it right now, and it's amazing. I'm just doing it for just $27. So if you want to get in now with that price, go ahead and get in and lock it in, and I'll join you guys in that course. It starts next week. Okay. But I think that it would be amazing for you to try that on any song. You can do it right now. Just sing it on any song, do a lip trill on any song, and see how it helps you to be able to approach singing the song after you've worked on it with a lip trill a few times. I'm telling you, it's amazing. I remember the first time I did it, I was like, oh gosh, that's it. But it's because your layering technique. It's not like, oh, well, lip trills just fix anything, let me just do it, blah. Like, you need to, it makes it so that you have mastered your breath control even more, so that when you do get ready to actually sing, it comes out perfectly and the tone is just beautiful. Okay. And let's see here. So be careful of this too, misclassification of your voice. Some teachers and choir directors only hear the strength in your chest voice and assume that you're not a soprano, and that is just simply not true. I actually remember there was a vocal teacher from FAMU years ago. I was doing this program called the 105 Voices, and it's basically there's 105 historically Black college universities throughout the United States. And so at that time, I happened to be going to Edward Waters College, now Edward Waters University. And I was a part of that program. I was representing our university, our historically Black college university. And I'll never forget when I met this man. He was like, you have a really heavy voice. You must be a second soprano. And I'm like, no, I'm a first. I'm a first soprano, but I'm a spinto soprano. So I have a lot of sound. I have a big powerhouse voice. But it's really, not to shut him out and say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's just a matter of where people have come from or what they know or where they've been. So I say that to say this. Don't allow someone to limit your ability as a singer based off their own knowledge, because there's so much more out there about the voice that humankind still is learning today. They don't really fully understand everything about the voice, obviously. So give yourself a chance. Lack of training was the next part. You're never taught how to use your head voice, so your high notes don't sound easy yet. And that is very true. This connects with the part that I was talking about with the space in the back of the throat. You have soft tissue, and I know you felt this before when you yawn. If I made you yawn, by the way, go ahead and comment, let me know. But if you don't understand how to stretch that space back there, you're not going to sing a high note. If you don't get used to that feeling, that lightiness up here. And that's what they're talking about, the head voice. Getting used to sitting that sound, the resonance up here, not just here. Most singers get limited because they think their sound just sits right here. That's not how that works. Okay, so I tell all my singers, forget this. Forget the fact that your sound is coming from here. If it's limiting you to just think down here, we don't want to think down here. We want to think up here and beyond, right? Let that sound float and stay up. That's what we really want. And then pushing too hard. When big voice singers try to belt high notes, instead of placing them correctly, they strain and crack their voice. So, and this is again another reason why I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, my voice sounds like it's cracking. I don't know how to get it to stop cracking." And it makes them think that they can't sing. That's just simply not true. You can sing. You are able to sing. You just have to learn how to balance that. And I do teach how to balance that inside of my course. When you register, you'll get the opportunity to join and find out about your unique voice and how to help yourself stop straining and sing with confidence. So let's do a little bit of a mind shift. So thinking about how, being a soprano, it's not about singing light. I never initially say, well, you need to sing like this. No. If you have vibrato, let it shine, right? It's about where your voice naturally sits when you're using the right technique. That's what it's about. It's not about being up here, singing like this, pinching your throat and adding unnecessary tension. That is not a soprano, okay? That is not a soprano at all. But when you understand how your voice works, like for me, I know I have a huge powerhouse. It's like right now I'm speaking in my chest voice, right? Kind of, sort of. I guess kind of a mix really for me. I feel like I'm singing in my chest voice, but I'm speaking in my chest voice kind of right now. But the thing about it is that I understand that when I sing, I don't need to let my voice hang down here. It needs to be up here comfortably, right? So I need to lift that and let it stay, let it float, let it fly like an eagle in some cases, as some people would say. Don't let it sit low and shallow. And I'm gonna tell you, there are some singers I'm going to encourage you to go look up. Okay, um, there are some famous opera singers out there. That I mean, and these are world famous opera singers. They have and had, some of them may not be here any longer, but they did come through and grace this world with their voices. But they are huge dramatic voices. Okay, number one, note this down, is Jessie Norman. I love her. She's amazing. Look her up. Jessie Norman. She played Aida. She played some of everything, okay? And she has like this phenomenal sound. She could just overtake it all. That's the best way to really explain it. But she too is a soprano. And she knew how to control her vessel, her sound, so much so that when she sang anything, no one could deny her that role or that ability and that skill, because it was so perfect. It was so perfectly created and curated, right? Um, and then you have Leontine Price. Okay, I love Leontine Price. Who doesn't love Leontine Price? Okay, but Leontine is another big powerhouse soprano. She has that big, just it just is vivacious. It's southern. I love that, you know. And even like when you hear her speak, you hear that southernness in her voice, which is so unique. And I think every single one of these singers that I'm mentioning are so unique. But you know, when you hear Leontine Price sing, you hear all of those beautiful articulate range, the range of her voice. It's just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that, you know, she could sing like that. Because if you listen to her in a lower range, you feel and you hear that body in her voice. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where when they're up here, you know, when she's singing in a higher range. Hello everyone, welcome to Voice Lunch Masterclass. When she sings in that higher range, you know, it really makes you think, well, wow, if she can sing in those higher ranges, same thing with Jessie Norman. Jessie Norman. You know, okay, well, maybe I can do it too. You know, hi, how are you? And Renee Fleming, that's another one. Oh my gosh, I love Renee Fleming. She's one of my most favorite ones as well. Renee Fleming has a powerhouse voice. I remember the first time I heard her sing Costa Diva. Oh my gosh, you should go check that out. Go check out Costa Diva by Renee Fleming. Welcome in, welcome. Check out Renee Fleming. She is a powerhouse soprano, and she's one that, I remember when I saw her sing, she also broke stereotypes for me. You know, things that were taught, you know, in our homes or at school, our local communities, you know, sometimes it's not best to really do that, to really go off of what you hear in your local community all the time. It's great to start there and learn, but you really should branch out and go travel, go meet other people, and work with other musicians and learn from them. Another would be Maria Callas. And she also is another big powerhouse soprano. I love her voice. She's gorgeous. All of these women that I mentioned, they are beautiful sopranos, inside and out. But they all offer something so unique about their voice. It's not just like, again, a one size fits all. I don't believe in one size fits all singers. I think that you're looking to make a robot inside of a manufacturing plant, if that's what you're looking for. But those don't exist. right? Because we're human. We're human, right? And we need to make sure that when we're developing ourselves as singers, that we're taking those things into account, not to be the next, replica of whatever is out there, but to create our own unique voices and our own unique sounds. That's what's so important that so many singers miss. And imagine how many more wonderful singers we actually could hear on the radio right now when we turn the radio on, or we watch TV, or we see in these movies performing, if we actually just gave ourselves a chance and actually developed our own sound. And then we would hear less, probably, maybe not, I don't know, but I was just thinking maybe we would hear less electronic voices. Because a lot of the time, to be honest with you, a lot of the time when you hear singers on radios these days, they have had something edited about their voice. Like they'll use EQ something to adjust their sound. Um, there are some of them who are amazing singers and they still use it. But then there's some that don't, you know what I mean? And you can tell the difference when you go to a live performance. So I'm like, if you really want to know if a singer can really go sing, go see one of their live performances and you will know. Because what can be hidden in a studio cannot be hidden in person, you know? So keep that in mind. All right. Oh, I see some comments down there. Oh goodness, let me see. How are you? Oh my goodness, you want me to sing for you today? Hold on one second here. And where are you from? Oh, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, in the United States. And I am a native here. And I'm a singer. I love to sing. And I've grown to learn I've grown passionate to become a vocal coach as well. So I love singing and I do move around. I do enjoy singing and traveling. It is nice. Um, I'll sing a little something. Let me see here. I didn't come prepared to sing anything. Let's see. I mean, of course, I have tons of music in my background. Let's see. I'll do something from Porgy and Bess. My man's gone now, ain't no use listening for his tired footsteps climbing up the stairs. Come to keep me company, whispering beside me as I say my prayers. There you go. So that's from Porgy and Bess. It's an American opera. It's an African American opera. Thank you very much. And I do sing in other languages. I sing in Italian, French, and German as well. Those are some of my most favorite languages to sing in. And right now I'm working heavily on French because I have some things that I'm working on. Can I sing those songs right now? Yes and no. I'm not allowed to sing them right now. But I will. I will once I'm working on a program right now. But once I have completed that program, I don't mind either sharing clips from that program and or coming on here and singing them live. Okay? But thank you very much. Let's see here. So I wanted to make mention of a couple of things. Science. I'm a big science nerd, by the way. How big voices can sing high notes. We're still on that, okay? So what makes high notes feel hard? What makes it hard to sing high notes? Well, if you think about it, you attempt to sing a high note right now, you know you've been having challenges. More than likely, you're going to notice that you're feeling tension, right? You're going to notice that you're having tension either in your throat, your jaw, or maybe you're feeling tension in those areas and that the sound is just not coming out. Well, yeah, So tension is going to make it challenging for you to sing high notes. In a lot of cases, I don't really care whether your voice is light or heavy, but the heavier your voice is, the harder it will be to, sing with tension. You don't need tension when you're singing, basically. Okay? Okay, let me see. I will save that. I will make sure I come back on here and search that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, now, breath misuse. How much or too much or too little air pressure, it can wreck the note. So yes, when you go up those scales that I showed you earlier, those exercises, I want you to pay attention to something. I want you to pay attention to how much air is actually needed in order for you to sing those notes. It's a balancing game. It really is. You really need to know how much air you need, not the next person, but you. Everybody's anatomy is different. That's why that's so important. So I can't expect someone who's like this tall compared to someone else who's this tall to necessarily need the same amount of air, right? And there's other variables too. Sometimes you may find other reasons why someone this tall and this tall may actually use the same amount of air. It just depends on the person. So that's why I say you really got to know those things about yourself, okay? Next thing would be voice placement. This is a huge one. If you are singing your high notes too low in your throat and you're like, hey, I'm just not going to move, they'll feel heavy and forced. Who's been there? I have, right? I have, and I know it does not work. I cannot imagine singing a note. Hold on one second. Up here. I cannot keep that low range mentality. Did you hear the change right there? Did you hear that? I literally thought back. I just reverted for a second from, previous experience of thinking down here. So, that's usually what happens to a lot of singers. No, think high, think above the vocal cords. You have to do that. You have to think high. Right? And two, you'll run into where some cases you'll have straight tone. And that has to do with tension too. So, well, you'll go. That's with vibrato, right? You don't want to just screech up there. So you got to open up that space and move that sound. Think high. Think up here, okay? You want to think float, not force. Float, not force, okay? Float, not force. If you understand what I'm saying, put the word float in the comment for me, please. Float, float, float. Type float, right? Float. I'll see you later. Thank you for joining me today. I do this every Wednesday. All right, so part 3. So let's talk about this real quick, and then, all right, Regina, I see you in there. Thank you. So what I want to, and I think I may actually, let's do this. Let's do the siren. We call it the siren. This exercise is called the siren. So it's basically, it helps with resonance and freedom of the voice, okay? I love it because it's not hard and it's really simple to, you've heard a siren before. Like you've heard the rescue go by. Right? Okay. So I'm gonna have you do this. You're gonna start on an NG. Like if you can imagine singing on an NG, like an NG, right? But you're gonna put it to the front. Put it to the front of the mouth, not the back, okay? Some people usually go right to the back. No, we're gonna move it to the front. Right? Lift that tongue up in the front. Now, It's like you're saying the word sing, sing, right? Sing, sing. And we're going to slide from low to high. So we'll go like that. Okay? This is an exercise that really helps with resonating your sound, really bringing forth who you are, right? Developing that connection and focusing on head vibration instead of forcing the air, and getting to know your own sound in that way. When you do that, it really does make it easy to bring your sound out naturally without having to force the sound and straining your throat. There comes a time where a singer really must understand that up here is really where they need to start developing the sound. Not just the front of the face, but also back here. You have bones all throughout your body, especially in your head. And so when sound is vibrated, when it's created, it has to hit something in order to keep continual vibration. And in our case, it's the bones inside of our head that does that for us. So let me see here. So that is how we, we get our head voice to activate, really, is becoming one with those vibrations. And helping us to connect our low and high range with ease seamlessly. Now, I would also do the same thing with floating on the ah vowel. Now, the ah vowel, AH, it tends to be one of the most challenging vowel sounds to sing on. And that's usually because of what we spoke on earlier. When we are thinking low when we sing instead of thinking up here, okay? So for soprano placement, sopranos, raise your hand if you're here. Raise your hand, put your hand, okay? So I'm gonna have you take a deep breath and think lift instead of push, okay? In some cases you have where some people will push like this. Okay, I don't do that all the time, but I'm just doing it for y'all so you understand what I'm talking about. Don't do that. Please don't do that to your voice. Okay, you're going to lift. You're going to lift. You're not going to think here. That ah is not here. It's not here. It's up in the head. That's where it is. So that's when you stretch that soft palate. Think the egg again. The egg inside the mouth. Right? That is where we get that from. That is how we're hitting that. And you don't have to sing that high right now. If you're down here, but still think up. Do whatever you want to do with your voice. See? That's how you make that happen. You think up. You keep it up and I don't want to say light, because if you don't have a light voice, you just don't have one right now. Okay? And that's okay. You don't have to have a light voice to sing high notes. That's the purpose of today's video as well. Okay? Because we're not too big to sing high notes. That is a lie. And if someone ever teaches, if you ever have a teacher that tells you that your voice is just too heavy to sing high notes, run away. Run. Save yourself, okay? Because that means that teacher's way of education may not necessarily be the best for you, okay? They're good for somebody, but they may not be good for you, okay? So Look out there. There's several teachers out here that are teaching what I'm teaching. I'm one of them. But I would highly recommend, if you ever meet a teacher and they tell you that your voice is too heavy to sing a high note, you need to run the hell away, because they're not going to ever be able to, unless they go do further research. They're not going to tell you what to do to help you improve your voice. Okay? And I'm so grateful. I can't help but say this again. I am so grateful for the teachers that I have, and even my current vocal coach. If it were not for her, I would not be able to sing high notes like this, right? So it's one of those things where, you really should develop your craft and understand that you are worthy of doing that. You are worthy to do that. This is one of the reasons why we have Worthiness Wednesdays, because I want singers to feel empowered. I don't want people to feel disempowered, okay? You are a blessing to the earth to even have such a voice, to be able to sing for someone. You never know who you're going to heal. I feel like singing is medicinal. I feel like it is medicine. Singing keeps me happy. It's the thing that I do when I feel sad sometimes, or it makes me, really need to have a brighter day. And honestly, it was when I think I was 18 years old, I was a little younger. I was 17, and I sang in Philadelphia for the first time. I was in high school, and thank you for the hearts. And I remember when I sang the spiritual in Philadelphia at the Freedom Theater, and I was singing with the Ritz Voices at the time, and it was called By and By. I will see my Savior in heaven by and by, by and by, by and by. I'll go to see my God. All of my troubles will be over when I see my Savior in heaven by and by. I remember singing that song when I was 17 years old, and I was in the Philadelphia Freedom Theater, and I did not realize how touching that song was, or how important that song was at that time. But there was this lady that came to the back of the stage. Like, she came to us, and she was, yes, Regina, just like that. She was crying just like that. She cried. Thank you guys so much. She cried so. And she told me, she was like, I don't know how this is happening. But she was like, thank you so much for singing like this. And singing, she was like, allowing God to use you, because you did something to me out there. She was like, I know you're young, and at the time I was 17, she was like, but please keep developing your voice. Please keep doing what you're doing, because you touched me, and I'm not the only one who you touched out there, And hearing that at that age, it was just like, really? Like, wow. It made me really think more about why I even became a singer, or what it was even for, I knew that I always loved singing. Even from a child, I always loved singing. I always loved music. I've always been drawn to it. You couldn't keep me away from it, right? It always kept me in church. It always kept me around people, and it always made me happy. But I see where God created this gift in me and in so many others to make a difference in the world, because you never know what people are going through. And if you can just open your mouth and just say something, or just sing something, that literally could save their life. That literally could make their next moment on this earth so much better. You actually could save someone's life, or you could actually, empower someone to do something that would help them, or help someone else, help the next person. And that's honestly why I love singing. I love getting up on stage. And I don't think about myself like I used to. Remember when I was younger, I thought about myself because I didn't understand how to peel on to the next level. But here I am now, years later, I get it. It's not about you, it's about what the gift that God put into you to be able to do is for. And so, develop. That's why I encourage other people to develop their voice. When they love to sing, take lessons. Matter of fact, if you ever want to meet with me, I have a link I'll put in the description as well, and you and I can have a one-on-one lesson together and go through your voice. I love doing that as well. But that's another reason why I have this course that I'm sharing, because I don't want it to be where people can't have the ability to develop that skill. You never know who is going to be the next singer, or who's going to be a singer, a soprano. You know what I mean? So I encourage people to take this, because I know that what I'm learning and I can share to you is going to be able to propel you to be able to take full accountability of your voice and not just sing and waver. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's definitely a blessing to be able to sing. It definitely heals you, and it can heal somebody else. And that's how I look at the voice. That's how I look at it. So again, before I get ready to close this out, let me just remind you all, thank you so much. Thank you, Regina. Before I close this out, I just wanted to say thank you all again for joining me this Wednesday. I'll be on here next Wednesday as well. This is Worthiness Wednesdays. And, the main purpose of this live that I do every Wednesdays is to bring singers together, to bring people together who want to learn how to sing, especially those who are sopranos. I'm really pushing for people to develop their voice, because more voices need to be heard. There's so many voices that have been discouraged, beat down, battered, and people have literally left this world not really understanding how much more they could have given and what God really had in them to be developed, So here we are with Voice Launch Masterclass. I have a $27 course that I'm offering. It is a 4-week course. I want you to join me for 4 weeks. I want you to work with me. And I want you to join me in this round of learning how to really develop the voice and improving yourself. Give yourself a chance. I will be on there live with you. I do have other courses as well that I'm developing, but this is just that opener to give you the opportunity to learn a lot of basics to help develop your sound and really see if, what I'm doing is for you as well. And it's definitely well worth it. You're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun together. I'm very involved. I love to get to know my students personally in such a way that I know what's going on with your voice, what challenges you're having, where your perception is on your voice, and how we can make those shifts to help you understand your voice better and how to sing with freedom in your voice. Okay. And that way you can, when it's time for you to sing at somebody's birthday party, at church, in choir, wherever you're performing, even if you're performing at the Lincoln Memorial, you can do it with the confidence that you feel it deserved and feeling empowered in that as well. So check the description down below. I have an extra link down there that I do need to add, but I do have that one down there for the 4 weeks, for the 4-week course. Go ahead and grab that now. And I'm going to be starting on that course next week. So go ahead and grab it. Once you've got your orders placed, I'll go ahead and send out the link where you can go ahead and join the group. There is a group that I have. We'll be working in there together as like a vocal family consistently over those 4 weeks, so that we can help develop your voice, your sound, and get you singing and even expand your voice and see what else there is, that you really want to know about. Because I don't know everything about you until you share that with me. So I want to get to know you, help you develop your voice and your sound, and get you to the next level where you truly deserve to be. All right. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I had so much fun today, you guys. You guys definitely did light up my Wednesday, as you always do. Thank you so much for being here at Voice Launch Masterclass. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always looking at my comments, so please feel free to comment, share, like it, subscribe. And hey, if you know anybody else who could benefit from this, share this with them and say, hey, I know this lady named Irma. She has this YouTube channel called Irma's Voice Launch Masterclass. check her out. She has some videos on here that may help you, you know. And I will see you guys soon. I'm going to go ahead and get to my kiddos. It's spring break time, so I want to make sure I get in there and spend some time with them while they're home over the spring break. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later.